Hey everyone, welcome back to WrestlePop.
All right, guys, what do we always tell you? The drama and the feuds on Twitter are far more interesting than what's actually being shown on TV. And now we have yet another feud popping off on Twitter, and this one we didn't see coming, and it's pretty juicy. It is between Jim Cornette and Miro.
So if you guys don't know, Jim Cornette, he's got a podcast. He's also got a YouTube channel. And basically, guys, he's a contrarian in today's wrestling, so he's not really a big fan of what's going on WWE, AEW, especially AEW. He really hates it, and basically his show is him criticizing everything. That's the shtick. He's making his money off of it. He's a heel, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He's a true heel. He loves it. He embraces it. So if you go check out his podcast, he's just laying into like whatever is going on in wrestling, and it's entertaining, so I listen to it every now and then. But guys, this just blew up the other night. It was just crazy.
And it is the gift that keeps on giving, because every day there's something new coming out of it. So basically, guys, here's what happened just to kick it off. Jim Cornette on his podcast did a little review of the AEW Revolution pay-per-view. And of course, he broke it down match by match. So when he got to the match regarding Miro, Kip Sabian, and Penelope Ford, he really let them have it. And this is what he said on his podcast. He's being allowed to be himself, and he is obviously a complete goof. He has no idea how to get over, no idea what got him over for a little while before in the other company. He does this stupid and obviously is enjoying himself doing it. He was paired with a kid that looks like he's in middle school and his girlfriend. To have a feud with a guy that sticks his hands in his pockets and another guy that looks like he cuts his hair with a pencil sharpener. Job guy, underneath talent all the way. And he has embraced this.
So when I listened to this originally, I didn't think anything of it, but Miro, he got really pissed. He went on Twitter, and it sounds like he was, let's just say, threatening Jim Cornette.
A little bit, but on top of that, not only did Miro say his piece about it, but everyone else jumped in. So here's what everybody said on Twitter. Miro said, "The Jim Cornette, if you call Penelope again, I'll come like God's wrath on you. You understand? I'll personally drive to your basement." People like the Jim Cornette bring not only pro wrestling down, but young women and men get and name called for 40 views on YouTube. Answer me, you Mark, that Jim Cornette. And then Penelope Ford's real life husband retweeted Miro and responded with, "Legit, at the Jim Cornette is a total all talk wet lettuce. His funeral is going to be a joyous occasion." And then Kip Sabian continued the tirade on Twitch, and he said this: "We don't have to worry about it. He's definitely going to die at some point soon. Then we can all dance. We can have a celebration. That will probably be one of the first times on the internet that I will post something like a celebratory post, you know? And I mean that. I'm not even joking. I'm deadly serious. I cannot wait for that man to die." And then Penelope Ford said her piece about it. I mean, he has multiple times, but he lets people his wife while he watches. So what does he think of her? But she's probably the only person besides him he feels bad for, because his little can't please her after 5 Blue Chews and needs other men to do it for him.
Wow, oh wow. Guys, that is hardcore. And I just love Kip Sabian's comment because he's fighting hate with more hate.
Yes.
So, dude, you kind of look like a douche just as much as Jim Cornette. Now, here's the thing about all of this. I don't know if these people are working us the fans. Maybe Miro is just doing it for publicity, because you never know. This is wrestling. Everyone involved could be working us. But before we get into all of that, here's the thing about Jim Cornette and his wife. If you guys don't know, there's been, let's just say, accusations that Jim Cornette, he lets other men hook up with his wife. We don't know. We don't know, maybe it's true, maybe it's not.
We haven't been there.
We haven't been there. We don't, know. But people say there was accusations not too long ago that maybe, he lets his wife, hook up with wrestlers. And there was some famous wrestlers, in these accusations, So definitely check out that on the internet if you want to know more, because here, unfortunately, we really can't talk about it. I really like the fact that Penelope brought this up, because it's going to get people talking about it, right?
Well, it will. And now I just want to say, though, that she's kind of doing the same thing that she claims was done to her, though, to Jim Cornette's wife, who had nothing to do with this. So that's an interesting take on it.
Yes, because it sounds like she is shaming Jim Cornette's wife.
Kind of reads that way, doesn't it? But here's the thing, guys. Of course, Jim Cornette had to have his final say on it, and this is what he said. Jim Cornette calls Miro Bluto, so he says, Bluto, someone that's known me for a while, better sit down and tell you why you're making a drastic error trying to joust with me before I make you wish you'd never tried to learn English. You're a toothless lamb about to piss off a wolf, and I just want you to be aware of your peril. Then he goes on, this will be too good to pass up. Somebody tell noted video game nerd and Popeye villain wannabe Miro that I'm not gonna waste this tongue lashing in pieces on Twitter. It'll come this Tuesday on the Drive-Thru podcast, and it will be glorious. Don't tell Penelope. Then he goes on, no, he's not even that talented, just a great value brand Ryback on a generic brand show. And then he says one final thing. I never said, just heard it said, that if Penelope Ford had as many dicks sticking out of her as she'd stuck in her, she'd look like a porcupine. I never said that, but someone who'd have relations with jelly Nutella should have a medical professional on her speed dial.
So guys, that right there is a true heel. Jim Cornette, he goes on Twitter, does a little, he wets your beak.
Yeah.
And then says, if you want more, you got to go on my podcast because I can make money.
Smart move, honestly. I mean,
Yes.
that's a smart, savvy businessman right there.
So-
I feel like we would do the same, right?
We would do the same exactly. Now, here's the thing. If this is all a work, because we don't know if this is just them working us, the fans, but if it's real, Miro, dude, you just what did you start? Because this guy, Jim Cornette, he's just gonna lay into you forever now. Because it made them look like fools by acknowledging Jim Cornette and just throwing exactly what he's throwing right back at him when they're trying to say, don't say this kind of stuff about girls. And let's face it also, Miro, you don't really care about her. You're more upset with the things that he said about you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I don't get either is I guess it's kind of honorable to try and stick up for this woman, but also she's got her own husband that should be sticking up for her, not you, which I find a little strange that he would take up the torch instead of her husband doing it first. But also the fact that everyone is taking this great offense to Cornette saying that she seems I honestly took that as he's talking about her character, the gimmick that she is portraying on the show, which I will say, it kind of comes off a little right? Her wedding dress for the episode that they did where she got married was literally lingerie. Does it get any better than that?
I think that's what all of these guys need to realize. They're playing characters, they're actors. And so when people criticize them, their character is being criticized, not them.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, they're all hypersensitive, and I think the reason is they know they're not that good. Because look, guys, we like AEW and all that kind of stuff, but just looking at that death match is a good example. There's a lot to improve on.
And the other part of it is that these females, and it's not just Penelope Ford, it's the females industry-wide, they want to be hypersexualized on their Instagram and their Twitter and stuff. They go out of their way to wear basically nothing, and they look great doing it. That's not bashing them at all, but they love to receive all of the compliments from those posts. But then as soon as they get any sort of little tiny negative comment, they can't handle it. You can't have it both ways because these women are getting into a very appearance-driven industry and then don't want anyone to comment on their appearance. And I feel like that's a little naive to think that way. You can't have it both ways. Accept the good and ignore the bad. That's that.
I agree, because we always say, guys, if you don't watch our other YouTube channels, we always say don't acknowledge the haters. Now, the other thing is Miro. He got upset and he comes off as if he's defending Penelope, right? But let's face it, Jim Cornette was primarily criticizing Miro here, and I think that's what his issue is. He's upset because Miro is not the great god, that he thinks he is probably in his head.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that it would have upset Miro or anyone in this instance as much if you don't believe it to be true yourself. All right, guys, that's the video. If you like what we're doing here, definitely check out our other channel, 5 Minute Eats, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe.